Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're on a mission, really diving into the source materials, think detailed police interviews, corporate security manuals, psychological studies, to get under the hood of modern financial fraud. We want to look at the tactics, sure, but also the psychology that makes them work so well.
Yeah, and what's really striking, especially from sources looking at these highly organized fraud rings, often based in East Asia but operating globally, is this core truth. Their success isn't usually down to some super advanced hacking. It's almost always about a perfected, systematic exploitation of very common human vulnerabilities, our basic fears, our desires.
And the sheer scale really hammers that home, doesn't it? The data we looked at shows these aren't small operations anymore. Individual scams, regional incidents, they're now globalized. We're seeing losses from single fake investment schemes hitting, tens of millions of US dollars, sometimes in just one day. It's industrialized crime.
Right, which makes you wonder, how do they scale human manipulation like that? Well, the sources consistently point to 4 core psychological weaknesses they target across almost everyone. It's about 1, that desire for wealth, which they frame as greed. 2, our deep-seated fear of authority and also trust in it. 3, the fundamental need we all have for care, for warmth, for connection. And finally, number 4, just basic decreased judgment when we're tired.
Okay, let's unpack that. How do they actually customize these, universal weaknesses for different groups? Maybe start with the one the sources say is causing huge financial damage right now. Fake investment scams, often targeting older people, people with assets.
Well, the customization is pretty sophisticated because it often goes beyond just simple greed. For older folks with assets, the scammer often taps into something deeper. It's framed as helping them provide a legacy, a better future for their kids, their family.
So it's not just get rich quick for yourself, it's almost altruistic. That's harder to argue against internally, isn't it?
Precisely. And to build that trust, there's often a detailed SOP, a standard operating procedure, for creating this sense of warmth and care. The scammers are literally trained to be, and I quote from one source, more attentive than the victim's own children. Daily check-ins, remembering little details about their health, offering emotional support.
Wow.
They're essentially engineering this dependency before they even talk seriously about money.
Okay, so once that emotional hook is set, then they move into that 3-stage playbook, the one called bait, hook, kill, gnaw. Walk us through how that works psychologically.
Right, so stage 1, bait, is all about credibility. They let the victim make a small, real profit. Say you invest maybe $5,000, and they let you withdraw $3,000 almost immediately. It feels real.
So you get actual money back.
Exactly. It's not just a number on a screen. That little win solidifies the trust. It's a psychological commitment. You've now invested time, emotion, you've had a positive result. It sort of primes you for the next step.
Okay, the sunk cost idea. You're already in.
You're in. Then comes the hook. Now they push for much larger investments, often using these incredibly slick fake trading apps.
But wait, wouldn't huge, sudden profits on a phone app seem suspicious? Like, too good to be true?
You'd think so, but these apps can be shockingly convincing. Real-time, looking data feeds, professional design, and sometimes, incredibly, they manage to get them listed, even temporarily, on official app stores.
No way.
Yeah, through sort of back doors or loopholes. So that gives them this huge deceptive stamp of legitimacy. A victim might put in, say, $300,000, and their app shows it's grown to over $1 million. The emotional high, thinking they've secured their family's future, it just overrides the rational part of the brain asking how.
And then inevitably, the kill.
Right. The victim finally tries to withdraw those supposed millions. Suddenly, there's a problem. The account's frozen taxes, fees, some regulatory issue. They need a large guarantee fee to unlock it. Maybe $30,000 to release that million.
And because they're so invested in believing the million is real?
They're desperate. They scramble to pay that final fee, that ransom, thinking it unlocks their fortune. And poof, the scammer vanishes, the app stops working, everything's gone.
Okay, let's switch to the fake authority scams. These prey more on that fear aspect, right? The sources mentioned timing and isolation are key here.
Absolutely. The timing is often very calculated. They'll deliberately call late at night, midnight, 1 a.m. Why? Because it hits weakness number 4. Fatigue lowers rational judgment. Your prefrontal cortex, the part doing risk assessment, decision-making, it's just not working well when you're exhausted. They want you scared and tired.
And then they compound that with the very specific personal-sounding crisis scenario.
Exactly. They often use bits of information about the victim, maybe obtained illegally, to make it feel incredibly real.
Yeah.
Like claiming your health insurance card was used in some crime, maybe medicine theft, and now it's frozen. It feels urgent, personal, terrifying.
And then the isolation tactic kicks in. They tell the victim they can't tell anyone.
Yes, this is crucial. They'll invoke investigation confidentiality and threaten the victim, saying they'll obstruct justice if they tell anyone. Spouse, kids, lawyer, anyone.
But you stressed earlier that rule doesn't apply to citizens, right?
That's the critical point. Investigation confidentiality is a real principle, but it only binds law enforcement, police, prosecutors to protect the case. It absolutely does not stop a citizen from talking to their family or seeking advice. If someone claiming authority tells you you're legally forbidden from talking, that is a massive 100% red flag for fraud.
Got it. That fear is the tool they use to isolate. And the sources mentioned they sometimes create whole fake environments.
Some groups go to incredible lengths. We saw reports describing basically small studios set up for video calls. People in fake police uniforms make background sounds like radio chatter. It's all designed to create this overwhelming sense of officialdom, paralyze the victim with fear, and force them to comply immediately without thinking.
Okay, so scams aren't just hitting individuals. Let's pivot to the corporate world. The sources flagged business email compromise, BEC, as a huge issue. We're talking millions lost in single transactions here.
Yes, this is big money. The sources detailed one case, a publicly listed nanomaterials company that lost over $1 million US dollars equivalent, transferred a huge payment straight into a fraudster's account. And the kicker, it wasn't some complex hack, it was pure social engineering, exploiting routine human processes.
How does that typically work? The mechanism seems almost too simple.
It often is deceptively simple. The scammers impersonate someone the company trusts implicitly and deals with regularly, maybe an overseas subsidiary, long-term supplier. They send an email, usually marked urgent, requesting a change to the bank account details for future payments.
And people just do it?
Well, it hinges on exploiting a couple of key weaknesses, usually in the accounting department. First, just habit and over-reliance on email. These teams process tons of invoices, tons of payments. They see a familiar name, a familiar subject line.
And they just process it like all the others. Routine takes over.
Exactly. Speed over verification. And that leads to the second, and really the critical systemic failure. No mandatory double check through a different channel. They don't pick up the phone and call a known pre-verified number for that supplier. They don't use a separate secure messaging system. Instead, they often just replied to the fraudulent email to confirm the change.
Confirming with the scammer himself. Oh, boy.
Right. And this happens even when there are sometimes glaring red flags that get ignored.
Like what?
Well, the sources mention cases where the requested bank change was illogical. Like you've always paid your London subsidiary into a UK bank, and suddenly they ask you to send millions to a bank in, say, Spain or mainland China. That kind of major geographical shift should trigger immediate questions. But under pressure for urgent payment, it sometimes just slips through.
Okay, so the scammers rely on speed and psychology. Let's talk about the counterattack. What are law enforcement and official bodies doing? What systems are in place?
The number one thing, stressed in all the official documentation, is pure speed. They talk about the 5-minute golden window. Once you transfer money to a scammer's account, their network of cash mules can often withdraw or transfer that money out within 5 minutes.
5 minutes?
Miss that window, and the chances of getting it back drop dramatically. It's often gone, laundered through multiple accounts.
So the key takeaway for you listening, if you even suspect you've sent money to a scammer, you have to act instantly. Call your bank, call the national anti-fraud hotline like 165 in the region we studied immediately. Think of it as a race against that mule. You have to be faster.
And it's not just reactive anymore. Law enforcement is getting more proactive. They're using data analysis to track suspicious large money flows. And they're actually calling people who seem to be victims based on transaction patterns, even before they've reported it.
So they're identifying potential victims from the financial data itself.
Yes, and then guiding them on how to report it and try to freeze subsequent transfers. They're also working closely with the places people get large sums of cash from when targeted by scammers, banks where they might take out loans or mortgages, and even life insurance companies, because victims are sometimes convinced to cash out their policies, building defenses at the source.
And what about tech? We hear a lot about AI. How does that fit in?
Well, the sources are clear that AI is seen more as an auxiliary tool right now, not a replacement for officers. The plan seems to be integration over the next, say, 3 years or so.
Okay, so supporting human efforts.
Right. But the future vision described is quite interesting. They're talking about things like AI dashboards that could potentially monitor in real time the advice police officers give to the public on calls. Not for performance review, but to flag if the officer might be giving outdated information about a new scam tactic, or maybe incorrect legal advice. The AI could prompt them with the correct, up-to-date info.
Huh. Real-time quality control for advice. Interesting. Okay, so bringing it back to the individual, what can you, the listener, do right now? Let's talk about that 4 knots principle. It's often used for things like cash payout scams, but it seems broadly applicable.
Yeah, it's a really solid framework because each knot directly counters one of the psychological tactics or technical routes the scammers use.
Okay, first one. Do not click. This fights that false authority, right? Governments, official bodies, they just won't send you links and texts or emails to collect money or verify financial details.
Exactly. Clicking that link is basically accepting their fake authority, opening the door. Second, do not enter or input. Never give out personal details, ID numbers, credit cards, bank passwords on sites you didn't seek out yourself and verify. This counters both greed, wanting the prize, and the direct technical theft.
And if you do input that data, the sources warn about immediate, massive credit card fraud. We're talking potentially thousands, tens of thousands gone in hours.
For sure. The third knot hits the financial desperation exploited in that kill phase. Do not remit or transfer. Real government payouts, legitimate processes, they happen via direct deposit to your known account or maybe collecting cash officially. Any request to go to an ATM or use online banking to verify something by transferring money, that is always a scam, 100%.
Because that transfer starts the clock on that 5-minute window?
Precisely. It breaks the chain of custody. And the final one, do not forward. If you get a dodgy message or link, don't pass it on, even if you think you're warning people. This counters the fatigue and isolation tactics. You don't want to accidentally spread the scam to vulnerable friends or family who might be tired or easily panicked.
Good point. Don't become part of the distribution network.
And one final check. Before you jump into any investment platform, especially one promising amazing returns, use official channels to verify it. Call the anti-fraud hotline. Check government registries like the Digital Development Ministry's anti-fraud network mentioned in the sources. And just ask yourself that basic critical question. If this is such a guaranteed amazing investment, why are they telling me about it instead of just quietly getting rich themselves?
So wrapping this up, the core lesson from this deep dive seems to be that fighting fraud is this constant race. A race against time, needing that technical speed, the 5-minute rule, but also, maybe more importantly, needing psychological awareness, understanding the scripts they're running against us.
Absolutely. And remembering the importance of reporting it officially. Making that call is the necessary legal step for any chance of recovery. Don't let the scammers' fake confidentiality threats stop you from seeking help. That's exactly what they want.
And the sources also highlighted something quite sobering, that particularly in romance scams or these family-focused investment scams, the victims often say the emotional damage, that destruction of trust, of love, it hurts far more than the money lost.
Which leads to maybe a final thought for you, the listener. Your mission isn't just about building your own technical and psychological defenses. It's also about actively providing that genuine warmth, that genuine care and connection to your own loved ones, the very things these scammers are expertly trained to mimic and exploit. If you see a family member acting strangely, getting weird late-night calls, going to the bank a lot, don't ignore it. Be that source of real empathetic support, that human connection. That's maybe the ultimate defense against the isolation these predators rely on.